Assalamu alaikum, good evening everyone, hope you're well. Mr. Ali hitting the radio waves on a Tuesday evening. Nice to have you joining me for the next hour or so. I've got the main man here, Ash. Ash, who doesn't need any introduction, but we will obviously as soon as we go live, so just give me a second whilst I share my page as well. Nothing wrong with being on the sort of Fatih Ali Khan to keep us warm. Okay,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Hasn't been too bad today, the weather.
Actually, not too bad compared to the last week or so. That's right. Yeah, let's get things going. Assalamu alaikum, good evening everyone. My name is Mr. Ali and welcome to another fantastic show that I've got in store for you. As always, with my show, I tend to kick off with the local COVID stats, and they are painting a very bleak picture indeed. So I hope you're well. Please do join in with today's show, which is all about substance abuse during lockdown. And inevitably, with everyone being at home, with being furloughed, or maybe with the kids at home, the amount of people that are depressed, that are now having to find a bit of a release, the amount of alcohol consumption, and also the recreational and substance abuse has certainly increased by as much as 40 to 50%. We will be discussing that. But before that, I just want to, as always, go through the local figures. And like I said, it paints a very stark picture indeed. So in total, we have seen a massive 200% increase in the number of positive cases compared to the previous week. And that does not bode well for those people that are from a BAME community, those people that are vulnerable, elderly, and have underlying conditions. So please, keep your distance, stay at home, observe the lockdown. It's in all our interest. We are in this together. Thank you, guys. Hope you're well as well. So just to give you the local figures, these are per 100,000 population. So last week, the cases per 100,000 was 570. So this week has gone up to 728. That's an increase of a third. And some of those wards that have seen that spike, that increase by 200% include Lozells, which has the highest, actually, 1,366 per 100,000 population, followed by Spark Hill, 1,289. Hall Green, would you believe it, 1,196. Wow. Small Heath, 1,132 positive cases per 100,000. And as always, good old Alam Rock Khan, stay away from the headlines. 1,047 cases per 100,000 population. And I mentioned these are roughly 200% increase compared to the previous week. We have seen also a 22% increase in the hospital admissions. These are your very serious cases. We've had very naughty people who are going around filming some of the reception areas, some of the corridors, saying, look, it's very quiet. These hospitals are like a ghost town. But when you go into the ICU, when you go into the emergency, some of the other wards, that's where, the healthcare professionals are there, putting their own lives at risk, saving us as well. So please have some respect. In total now, the UK, England in particular, and Wales, our total death figures are now coming up to 100,000. We're just shy of the 100,000 deaths, and compared to the rest of the Europe, we are the highest. So in terms of last week, the lockdown was announced, and we have now two main vaccines that are being administered, and to date so far, 2.5 million people, 2.5 million of the population have been vaccinated. So that is good news. For those of you who are reluctant, who are scared, there's nothing to be scared about. I spent a full hour with Dr. Imran last week talking about this, and we will do another show with Dr. Imran, but this time in Mirpuri as well. So you can tell your uncles, aunts, your parents, your grandparents about the benefits of being vaccinated as well. So over the next few weeks, the plan is to have 1 million people vaccinated per week. So it's a huge logistical issue that we're going to be rolling out, and this is a real testament to everyone that is working on the NHS. Assalamu alaikum everyone. Hope you're well. Hope you're keeping warm as well. So I'm going to go straight into the topic that we have today. This is about substance abuse during lockdown. So we're talking about alcohol. We're talking about recreational drugs. We're talking about medicinal drugs as well. We're talking about cocaine, heroin, those nitrous oxide pellets. I didn't know what they were until about a year ago. So I'm quite naive in this sort of stuff. So please, I'm going to learn during this hour. We've got the expert here. I'm sure please also you give us your experiences about, whether it's yourself, if you want to be anonymous, please, by all means, we'll share your message without mentioning your name. If you know of anyone, your family, friends, your children that are taking part in drugs and you've seen an increase in their uptake or their usage over lockdown, then please give us some reasons and hopefully we'll at the end give you some real tips in terms of what you can do to overcome that and what support is available as well. So first, very welcome to someone who spent a life. This is the second time he's coming, and I hope you don't mind. You've been on the both sides of things, so absolutely. He's been there. He's got the T-shirt, and I think sometimes you have more credible when you've sort of been on that sort of that path yourself as well. So Brother Ash, who runs a drugs rehabilitation place on Stafford Road called KIKIT. Very warm welcome to you once again to the studios of Radio Awaaz. So I'll just give you a bit of a sort of an introduction, but it has been tough for people with lockdown. People now facing real uncertainty in terms of their income, their job prospects. A lot of businesses, taxi drivers, takeaways, restaurants, non-essential shops are absolutely closed, and they don't know what their immediate to medium future holds. So they're spending a lot more time, and as you know, normally when you spend maybe 2-3 hours with your kids or with your other half, but you're spending maybe now 14, 15, 16 hours, in under each other's feet. Sometimes the stress, the pressure can get a bit too much.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me back at your radio station, and it's always a pleasure to try and basically provide as much information I can to your listeners. Absolutely, it's an extremely difficult time, especially now with COVID and health authorities under extreme pressure. And it's absolutely the same for drug treatment services. It's very difficult to do the direct counselling and group support work that we used to do with users, where it used to be part of their rehabilitation and counselling sessions. And as you know, addiction, particularly with heroin and crack cocaine, heroin particularly, we're seeing kind of large proportion, particularly because we're a BAME project for Black minority ethnic communities. We see a lot of unfortunate people coming through with heroin addiction. And heroin addiction is also physical and mental. So with that, it's we can get the prescribing to heroin addicts who have a problem with heroin in terms of the medication, but the counselling and the mental and psychosocial interventions, that is very difficult to do. We can only do that through online, through telephone. Sure. And a lot of people haven't got webinars or phone cameras, particularly if they're users, because it's difficult to.
I was going to say, especially the clientele or maybe the service users. I think that's service users is the correct term. So we'll be referring to those that are addicts or using Ash's service as service users. So just for your terminology as well, that they don't have a regular routine. They don't have mobile phone contracts or stable Wi-Fi at home as well. So unless they're living with family members, that's another issue as well. So you mentioned the cocaine and heroin. There has been a spike, but I just want to talk about some of the disturbance in their routine as a result of lockdown. So some of these guys were probably, maybe holding down some part-time jobs, because not everyone is able to, see physically whether a person is an addict or not. People are able to mask it. People are very clever in terms of hiding their usage and some of the side effects as a result of that as well. So all of a sudden now we've had lockdown. Their routine has changed. The income has been affected. Children maybe now living at home as well, and also in terms of their gyms, their sports activities, everything has now taken a bit of a upheaval. We are social creatures. We love going to chill out or go to our family, friends. Chill out with our work colleagues. But that's now completely stopped as well. And I can imagine people are now thinking, okay, I can't spend so much time. I'm pulling my hair out, and as a result, there has been an increase in the, not only in the use of, but at the same time, there has been a decrease in terms of the amount of stuff available. So what you're seeing is that, those people that are getting the supply, they're now putting the prices up, and also they are, I would say, mixing stuff with, mixing substances with stuff that shouldn't be. So they're putting, dangerous quantities, and this is not, safe as well. So they're putting themselves under real danger now by, sniffing or snorting cocaine or heroin. But at the same time, they've got no choice as well, because they're addicts on there and they have addictive personalities.
Absolutely. And currently with everything on lockdown, it's extremely difficult for substance misusers, drug users to get out and about. There are users who come from wealthy families. So there's two areas of spectrum here. There's people who come from really poor communities and poor neighborhoods who can't afford drugs. And I mean, not just talking about heroin, we're talking about cannabis, alcohol, all different forms of addiction. And there are people who have a lot of money or hold a job down or come from a family that can help support their habit.
Yeah.
On both areas, then two areas now, there's extreme difficulties, because what we're seeing now is people who come from wealthy families are seeing that actually the individual in the home is actually taking a lot more drugs than what they were before. The lockdown is exposing the users. And a lot of that we're seeing as well, families, fighting with each other. There's a lot of domestic violence in the home, absolutely. Particularly if the user's married. He ends up taking it out on the children or the wife. We've seen cases of that. And on the other side, where we see people who come from poor neighborhoods who feed their habit through shoplifting or feed their habit through petty crime. That's not available to them anymore. So what they're doing now is they're actually taking more risk and going out there and doing actually more serious crime, which they're not normally doing. And they're getting arrested because, the burglars, they can't go out and actually burgle now. It's very difficult for them because everybody's at home. So even the burglars, it's very difficult for them. So it's hard for them to feed their habit. So therefore, it becomes very dangerous.
Yeah, and this is the beauty of having an expert, because, for someone like me, I wouldn't even think about, a lot of non-essential shops are closed, and there's less people now on the road, and even police are now being a bit more interactive in terms of questioning people as to where they are going. So unless you are going to your weekly shop to the local supermarket, and now it's mandatory now to wear face masks to supermarkets as well. So please do that when you go to your next shop at Aldi or Sainsbury's or whatever that may be. And at the same time, people are going to these shops now to shoplift, but with greater scrutiny, and the only reason you should be out is, I said, shop or doing your exercise. There's a lot more scrutiny, and people don't have the same opportunity now to shoplift. So what they are going to resort to is either they're going to steal from their own family, so maybe the parents and grandparents, or they will try to burgle homes, but with everyone staying at home as well. That's not easy opportunity, because most of the time there will be someone at home as well. So this is the dilemma. So maybe you've seen a lot more car burglaries and other stuff that's going on, and this is the insight Ash provides, really. So, please, if you've got any insights, the number is 0121 682 9735. I know there's quite a few comments that you have put on, so I will go through that in a few minutes. I just want to generate a lot more discussions with Ash first as well, so before we even go down. So the other thing you also mentioned was that, at the moment, we know some of the health or the condition of some of the service users isn't great. With COVID now, if they were to get COVID, they are the sort of prime high risk group that's going to be seriously affected. So you've got that worry, you've got the anxiousness of the whole environment being changed, and that sort of stress, that worry has now increased. I'm going to leave the drugs to one side, but the other thing that I was quite intrigued was you mentioned that alcohol within the BME community. So when I say BME, I'm talking about the Asian, Kashmiri, Pakistani community and the Muslim community. That's really spiked. And I was thinking, Ash, is this something that? Again, I live in Island Rock and I don't see it, but obviously, there's an underworld, or they're very good at hiding these things, aren't they?
Well, in terms of we've got a massive problem within our communities, Muslim communities, Pakistani communities, with drug dependency, and that covers across the board, talking about cannabis, cocaine, heroin, alcohol. And addiction is actually a big, massive issue. It's a very hidden issue because it's something that we don't come up front and openly ask for help because of the shame that it spreads in the community and causes a lot of issues within the wider family, saying that, we've got a drug addict in the family, and a lot of families get kind of disowned. So with COVID now, and it's a very valid point you mentioned, is this actual virus attacks the lungs.
That's right.
We know that.
That's right.
And with addicts, they smoke a lot, they inhale different chemicals, so the lungs are already in a pretty bad condition. So when you have COVID on top of that, it's a very, very dangerous situation to be in. So this is why I came on the show today, to kind of raise awareness of this issue, to say that, look, this is one of the highest vulnerable groups, that you need to let them know that actually families, to make them aware as well, that actually, yes, you're under risk and you are at risk of dying from drug overdose as well. But at a time like this, where it's very highly critical, and where people think, there's fake news out there, there's no such thing as COVID, in terms of conspiracy theories. And some people are walking around like, it's normal, there's nothing really happening. But we know the true reality of it.
That's right.
And when you've got substance misusers who are off their head and they're high and they're listening to conspiracy theories as well, they're not going to buy any of this.
No, that's right.
And that's what concerns me, is that, we're going to lose a lot of people.
And also, it isn't community that has been ignored. We talk about BME, we talk about the elderly population, people with underlying conditions, people in the lower socioeconomic. But until now, you've mentioned this, and they are in a high risk group. Service users have not been mentioned at all in the last 9 or 10 months, and we know that they're in the high risk group. That the normal support groups that they use they've gone virtual, they've gone online, and they normally won't have access to online facilities. But at the same time, the demand for these support services has gone up by 20%, but because of austerity, because of cutbacks, and also the fact that everything's gone online, enabling or accessing these services isn't as open as it once was. So, they're in a real dilemma as well, because, I know in the heyday, even the normal GP service, you had to do everything online. No one would allow you into the surgery. So, again, so what sort of support do you offer then? Or what
so this is what I was going to go on to, actually. We're very fortunate as an organisation that's been around now for over 10 years, delivering these sort of services. We've been getting great help and support through the local authority here in Birmingham. We're subcontracted through the main drug treatment service, which is CGL, Change, Grow, Live. They're the main drug treatment provider in this city. We've also had really good help and support through the National Lottery funding. So they helped us with actually raising awareness, doing some campaigns during COVID, in terms of the difficult period when COVID first started off. The lottery stepped in and helped our project, and they wanted to concentrate on the BAME community, which I was quite reassured to know that actually give a damn about our communities. And because of that, we've been able to deliver our services more online. And actually, we do have an open access kind of drop-in service, which we've had to stop because of the high numbers in Sparkhill and Sparkbrook, because we're situated. But we try to run it as much as we could through social distancing and the proper equipment. But it came to a point where it became so dangerous for my staff that we couldn't allow anybody else in. So we had to basically now just resort to appointment based only. And then now take it to telephone support and through online support.
How does that work in the appointment system?
So with the appointment system is, well, people are phoning in and we have to book them in, and then we have to take the measures to make sure that social distancing and all equipment, like what you would do get in a doctor's surgery.
And it's working for you.
So that system's working for us at the moment. The other system is we're running regular support groups online, which people can request by phoning in and saying, look, can you send me a link to something on my phone, and I can get access to help and support and counselling while I'm sitting at home doing nothing, twiddling my fingers, going crazy. So they can actually get access to a proper counsellor, and it's free of charge. So you're sitting at home not doing anything, you can actually work on yourself at this time, and I think it's a critical time because you're sitting at home doing nothing. It's a time where you can work on your behaviours.
That's right.
And you'll have a specialist counsellor on the other side who can work with you on your issues about actually why are you taking this drug? What is this drug doing for you? How can you basically compact them triggers, them cravings that set off in your brain? How to address them and how to, basically change that behaviour of when your thoughts appear in your brain about actually I need to get a fix or I need to go and get a spliff. How we can work with you to counsel you to actually switch off at that point and do something else, distract your thinking, because a lot of it is around social counselling and social interventions.
I like that ownership bit really, because you're at a juncture now. We are in a lockdown. You can either use this to exacerbate your existing problem by thinking that I'm bored, I've got nothing to do. You're triggering arguments with your siblings or your immediate family, or you can use this as an opportunity to be a catalyst for a change, or for you to be on that path to recovery. So, and again, this is where some of the work that you do, I think it's absolutely integral for them to make a full recovery as well. So back to the audience, guys. You've heard a significant amount what Ash has had to say. I want you to sort of share your experiences about lockdown, how it's affected you. Have you seen an increase in the amount of cigarettes that you may be sort of smoking, in some of the recreational drugs, the softer drugs that we're talking about, like cannabis, grass, whatever it's called, weed, but then you got some of the more harder ones like cannabis and heroin. Cocaine and heroin. These are more the harder drugs. Have you seen a want or a craving to smoke or inhale these? But obviously then you got maybe the issue with the supply, and a lot more people actually also being a bit more savvy as well, using technology, going online now, and getting things delivered to their door as well. Please share your experiences. I think Brother Ash will be glad to sort of hear your experiences. I'm just going to go through some of your comments if I can, please. Now, Jazz, how are you? Okay, good evening. Interesting program. Great topic. Thank you very much. I think we have been brave as a radio program, because as a Muslim community, as a Asian community, we see this as very much taboo. We try to keep our head buried under the sand and don't openly discuss these sort of things. I know Brother Ash is probably consumed in this day in, day out, but for someone like me, I said, I'm a bit naive in that sense, really, and it's welcome to have that sort of open and frank discussion, because for some young people, this is their life, and we need to sort of accept and embrace that, and try to get them to openly engage services like Ash as well. So Javed Akhtar, salam to Mr. Ali and his guest, that's Brother Ash. Substance abuse is also linked to homelessness. Yes, absolutely, I agree. substance abuse has increased homelessness and begging, which we are seeing on our streets. We are frightened to go out as we are constantly being harassed by these people. Can you tell what percentage of your clients are from the BAME community? That's to you directly.
Yeah, well, most of our clients, I would say probably 75% are from the BAME community. We do have clients, service users from other obviously, faiths and religions and nationalities.
Yeah.
But majority, because we're situated in Spark Hill, Sparkbrook area, and we are actually contracted to deliver BAME specialist services as well.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to kind of also add to one of the common phone calls we have from our communities is when a mother is very desperate or a father is very desperate to get help for a son or daughter for addiction. And we always get asked in terms of like, you know, why can't you do anything for him, or why is he not getting help from you? And one of the things that we always say to all parents is the most important thing is if we need to encourage the user, the service user, wanting to come off drugs. That's critical.
That's right.
Because it's like something, no drug service in the whole of the world has got a magic wand.
No.
That can just basically say, right, I've got the cure.
That's right.
And I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
We can motivate someone and help and support them. But the end decision is for the user. If they turn around and say, I've had enough of this life and I actually want professional help, then we know we can do it. We know we can get them out of it.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter how much support is available or how much the parents would want their kids to be better. But unless, there's that old saying, isn't there? You can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And same thing, when the time is right, when the support is there, and that infrastructure is there, the person themselves will, invite and sort of reach out. But, until they're not ready, you can talk, and you can sort of, throw all the support available to them, and they won't embrace it. And as soon as your back is turned, they'll be going back to their habits because it's the wrong time, wrong place, and they're not at that mind frame to be able to, understand what you're trying to do. So, and it's a difficult recovery. I can only imagine what it would be like, if you are snorting or, injecting yourself regularly for a period, a number of years, and you need multifactorial, you need yourselves, you need support workers, you need the family, maybe even the mosques as well.
Yeah.
Your sort of peer group has to change. Everything has to fit in place in order for that person not to relapse, and for them to continue to recover. And it could maybe take a whole year. Yeah. I mean, obviously, you know better. It is a sustained period of support that it needs to be offered.
Absolutely. And one of the things we always ask, one of the questions we always ask users is like, why do you want to stop taking drugs? So it's a critical question in part of the counselling. And what we want to hear, the answer is, I want to stop because I've had enough. We don't want to hear, I want to stop because my dad's dead.
Yeah.
I don't want to stop because my mom's fed up of me taking drugs.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't work. It doesn't work because you're stopping for someone else and just to please them. And a lot of times we see people being very, drug users are very manipulative, very conniving. Yeah. And they'll say to mom, I've stopped or I've reduced to get more money.
That's right.
And just to buy more time. And it's just a game that continues on and on and on.
Yeah. Back in the 80s and 90s, the typical Pakistani or Asian parents would be, putras on this and, let's take them to Pakistan, into one of these madrasas or whatever. And they would just lock them into a room 24/7 for about a month or so, and just let them go cold turkey.
Yeah.
Does that actually work? I mean, obviously
No, absolutely not. Because it doesn't address any of the issues that's going on in that person's life and in that person's brain. Because for someone to go to drug addiction, there is some trauma there. Yeah, there is something in terms of that's driven. And sometimes people end up becoming an addict through experimental use. You're using it like, you know what, let me try this. It seems like you're having a great time.
That's right.
Let me try a bit. So that's basically sometimes it's peer pressure. Somebody says, listen, you're hanging around with me, you need to have some of this. So it all depends, but eventually you become addicted. But when you become addicted, a lot of issues come out then, like mental health, trauma related, and that needs counselling. That needs mental, psychosocial support.
That's right.
It's not just giving you a whole lot of tablets and then you're going to basically be detoxified.
And it is complicated, you need that psychological, you need that emotional, physical support in order to wean, and it's a slow process as well. Sometimes you use sort of prescriptive drugs to slightly, lessen the impact of these addictive substances, and you slowly then come off it. And like I said, this is where I think still the social services, maybe religious services as well, they've also can play a role in helping that road to a recovery as well. I'm just going to go on to that point that we also touched on. Was Javed has come back and said there's also a growing and concerning issue of laughing gas known as nitrous oxide, which our young people are taking more and more. You find those silver canisters on the road and on the pavement, and you don't find one or two. You normally have about 20 or 30, and like I said, I only found out about 2 years ago what they were. God knows what I thought they were before, but so can you maybe just explain what are they, how do they take them, and what are the effects of taking these substances?
So nitro gas, you're talking about them small silver, but what I want to kind of raise awareness of today is actually they're not ordering the small ones anymore now. They're actually ordering gas bottle sizes of this drink bottle.
Okay.
So you can get like a big heavy duty bottle. You can order it online.
How much?
And then 5, 6.
How much would that be? About
20 quid.
Okay.
Right. And but about 8, 6, 7 of you could basically get your. It's put into balloons.
Yeah.
And then basically inhaled. And what it does, it just makes them laugh and makes them giggle. And basically, it's called laughing gas. Right. And a lot of youngsters are taking it, thinking it's not a dangerous drug. It's something that we can have a good time with. And what they don't realize is actually it's very dangerous. It can actually, if you have other underlying issues or other things that you probably didn't even know you had, it could kill you instantly. Oh, wow. So we're seeing a lot of people getting slowly but surely addicted to it. If it wasn't addictive, then why are we seeing so many bottles there? Why are we seeing people going back and buying more and more and more? Right, and they're doing it especially during lockdown. It's gone absolutely crazy now in terms of the amount of bottles you see when you're parking your car up.
Yeah, that's right.
You'll see about 15, 20, 30 bottles.
Yeah, that's right.
So this is a massive issue in our community, and people will say, you know what, no, this is only in the white community. No, it's not. If it's in the white communities, why are you seeing the bottles on Stafford Road and Allen Rock and these areas, Small Heath?
That's right.
It's in our community. It's our people that's using it.
Yeah. So it's a laughing gas and just gets them to escape from the world that they sort of find themselves. The reality. So it's like an escapism. That's why they take these nitrous dioxide. I hope that answers your question as well. And we talked about, at the moment we have seen a big spike, as much as, alcoholism has gone up by a third. And for example, Public Health of England had some data that in February of last year, 2020, 4.8 million people were sort of having a regular drink, and that has gone up to 8.4 million. This was the data for September as well. So roughly about a 50% increase, or 100% actually increase over 6 months as well, because people were stuck at home, pubs were closed, so a lot of people were sort of using alcohol to get rid of their boredom, and just people were sort of stressed at home as well, and they use these substances to escape, similar to nitrous dioxide as well. So if you do, I know parents aren't familiar with these. So now if you are listening and your son, daughter has those in their bags or in their pockets, you know that these aren't, playthings. They are damaging, potentially, life-threatening, damaging to your young children. And please, take some action towards it as well. So just going to move on to some more questions if I can, Brother Ash. Also were concerned about smoking shisha as well. Yeah, absolutely. We've had a number of raids on illegal shishas operating during lockdown as well, and 10,000 fines have been issued out as well, and that's sort of part of that problem as well. I think I do remember someone, there was some study by, again, Public Health England, that you smoke one shisha, it's like having, was it
80 or 100 cigarettes?
Something like smoking 80 cigarettes within that small time frame, and that's very worrying as well. And people are saying, well, no, that can't be true because it's water, but that's the evidence that's out there as well. So absolutely, that's a great point with regards to the hookah and the shisha as well.
Can I quickly go back to the alcohol?
Yeah.
Because alcohol is obviously a taboo subject. It's against our religion to drink it. and it's something that obviously is hidden. So a lot of people hide their bottles or go to the off license, or a couple of friends get.
Or they put it into a soft drinks bottle, don't they?
Well, that's actually spiraled out of control as well. We're seeing in terms of, because a lot of the guys particularly are not at work, they're on furlough, we're in lockdown, so a lot of time on their hands.
That's right.
And what I ask people is to be very careful, because alcohol addiction creeps up on you. And before you know it, you can end up with a serious issue. So when we come out of lockdown, eventually, right, you might end up with an alcohol addiction without even knowing. And that happens to a lot of people. A lot of alcoholics are in denial. They'll just say, I'm not an alcoholic, I don't need to drink. But then one day they don't have a drink, the next day they're shivering a bit and thinking, you know what, I need to have a drink. And that does creep on you very quickly. So I ask people to be kind of very wary of that and be very careful. And I don't drink at all.
No. And alcohol is one of those substances where it's quite a depressant, when you're not on it, especially with everything that's going on as well. When you think about lockdown, people are dying, people are catching COVID. The economic prospects aren't very good as well. Children are at home as well. These are quite sad times anyway. And then on top of that, you're drinking, then that's going to really put you down, that mood, that depressive sort of mental health. And that's where Brother Ash can sort of provide you with that support. But, you can only sort of access these services if you acknowledge that there is a problem. And, when you're sort of maybe in your 20s or 30s, especially, at that time where there's bravado, people think they can handle the drink, but, they aren't able to. But I know the old classic drink of putting some, alcoholic drink into a fizzy drink and pretending that it's a fizzy drink rather than it being alcohol. And people are very clever in terms of how they mask it. But again, these are telltale signs. But for me, who doesn't drink, I can smell it a mile off.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter how clever you are, and just because I don't say anything doesn't mean that I haven't picked up what's going on. So not everyone is as maybe as idle or as ignorant as you may think as well. So I hope that's okay. I'm going to touch on the other thing about as well. We talked about the worry and the anxiousness and the mental health at the moment. The amount of people that are now accessing mental health, and it's slowly, because of the amount of investment that the NHS have put into mental health, it's slowly becoming into mainstream now. I don't know how much so within the Pakistani community, but certainly I'm talking about mainstream now. It's becoming more and more acceptable. People are discussing it. Yeah. But what's your thoughts about Pakistani community and mental health? Do you feel as though that we are now becoming a bit more accepted towards that, or is there still a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of taboo around that?
There's still a lot of taboo. There are a lot of people, when there's mental health issue going on with the family, the first thing I think a lot of people talk about is like jinns and spirits and Taweez and let's go to a spiritual healer. But mental health is very real, and there is help and support available out there. What we're seeing as a drug treatment service is a lot of young men going into mental health services for high use of cannabis and cocaine. This is the recent kind of drug that we're seeing a high use of. And it's a lot of high uses of the high potency cannabis we're talking about, the skunk weed, the one that really smells very strong.
Sure.
And because a lot of young men are smoking large amounts, we're seeing paranoia, schizophrenia, and basically aggression kicking off at home, fighting very quickly, getting angry very quickly, and then there's not a lot of job prospects as well, and if they're not doing very well on top of that. And the other thing we're seeing a lot is cocaine. Cocaine is a very dangerous issue for us right now in the Muslim community. One of the things that young men are doing quite a lot of, which we're finding is our girls, they're introducing them to cocaine. And they're introducing them to cocaine through an avenue of, it gives you confidence. It helps you lose weight.
Short term, that's right.
It helps you lose weight. We can party, it's a small bit of powder. Film actors take it, movie stars take it.
It's supposed to be a rich person's drug.
It's a rich man's drug. You're not a skaghead, you're not a heroin addict. Right? So that's a massive issue, and a lot of our girls are getting addicted to cocaine without even realizing, and that's really concerning for us.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and you can inevitably, make that link once you're an addict to any substance, and these are expensive habits as well. Sooner or later, there is no endless pit of money as well. So you can imagine once you've got a girl on, addicted onto a substance, what that next step will be. If you can't afford to, pay for it, then she obviously wants that, that sort of hook, or sorry, that bit of a hit, shall I say. She'll be unfortunately having to sell her body in order to, and it's a very slippery slope. We obviously know that sometimes the boyfriend or sometimes even the supplier will use that for her to sort of be used as a prostitute, and then, all of a sudden that will fund.
And these are not girls that we're seeing coming from kind of broken homes or poor families. These are girls that are from universities and colleges and really good backgrounds, that are basically being put on these drugs by our own lads, basically. And then that's what's really concerning for us when we see that, and when we try to kind of get them out of that situation and get them help. A lot of parents are very naive to this, and one of the things I always say to a lot of parents is, please educate your kids about drugs and drug addiction.
Yeah.
Please get them the education so that they can stay away from these substances. Also get them the education of how people groom them and get them addicted to drugs, how people fall into that trap. Educate your kids about it, because it's so important in today's society. I can't emphasize it enough.
No, absolutely well said as well. I think there's normally telltale signs, but at that time, I think I'm quite a confident, independent sort of guy that won't be easily pressured. But I know when I was in my secondary school, all my friends were smoking, and after probably about 20 or 30 times saying no, I don't want it. One day I thought, okay, well, I want to sort of see what it's like. I had a little puff, and as you could imagine, when you sort of smoke for the first time, you cough.
Yeah.
And I thought, no, it's okay.
But
I sort of, I thought what that curiosity that I had, had gone.
Yeah.
But I could imagine that for someone, who was constantly badgered, who's constantly pressured, wants to be seen in the cool group, initially will do to impress them, but sooner or later he'll be hooked on, and that's how people start on drugs and on cigarettes. And then obviously you talk about grooming as well. And this grooming process is a very subtle process. They're very clever, very manipulative in terms of how they do it. The person that's been done to won't know that they're being groomed in that sense. That's the whole point. But I suppose, Ash, is this something that we are blowing out of proportion? Are we trying to magnify it, or is this a real problem, and you are seeing this on a daily basis?
This is an absolutely real problem. It's something that we see day in, day out. A lot of parents are very naive to it, and people, parents don't even. I mean, I got daughters. You don't even cross your mind that your daughter would, somebody could actually, coming from college or university, that could actually fall into a group of girls that, maybe like a group of guys, and then guys smoke weed, and then they take them out and they take a bit of cocaine. It happens very fast. Honestly, it happens so fast. And before you know it, the girl or the group of girls are addicted to it, and they just don't know how to get out. They're so scared. They can't tell their mom and dad. Right? They don't know where to go for help. If they go to a professional, their doctor, the doctor will tell the family.
Absolutely.
So they get stuck. So they think to themselves, you know what? I might as well just carry on quietly. Right? There's no way out now. And that's what's scary.
Mr. Katak Anwar Katak's giving you salam and giving you loads of respect and love. So, Kat, how are you? Hope you're well, mate. Happy New Year to you, boss. So moving on now. I'm just going to move the conversation on now. Talk about, the role of the police, the role of mosques, the role of the community at large, neighbours, and also the role of parents as well, because I think they've got a lot to play, because, and they're very guilty in all this as well in some ways, but we'll come on to those. But first of all, let's, tackle the police. With everything that's going on with lockdown, we're talking about this period now, there's limited resources, they're trying to, implement the lockdown with, there's increasing domestic abuse as well. I suppose, with the losing battle that it is drugs, it's like a cat trying to, catch his tail as well. Every so often they will have some successes. These are small wins, but generally I think, they've lost the battle about drugs, really, if you look at it, haven't they?
It's becoming, in terms of very difficult to catch, in terms of the amount of drug dealers we got in our communities. And And the only way I think we can kind of put an end to this is families getting involved and communities working together to push this out. And it happens so often, parents, they know the son's selling drugs, because there's no way you're going to have an expensive car and somebody's not working. And basically they've got so much money and they know, but they just don't know what to do. They don't want to go and tell the police. They don't want house to get raided. But what we can do is work together to encourage that young person to actually get a career and do something with their life, rather than sell poison to other people in his own community.
And I want to touch on that, just about the police, and you sort of made that link with the parents as well. There's something called ignorance is bliss. Sometimes you're thinking, okay, I don't know what my son or my daughter is up to, because the alternative is that I need to confront this. I need to now, have that massive argument. I need to then sort of get them on the right path. And it's not easy, especially when the child is 18, 19, 20. Some parents who are maybe 50 or 60 thinking, you know what, I've, done my bit, I've brought them up now, it's in the hands of the Almighty, whatever. They've sort of almost I want to say giving up the ghost, but they said fine. But the others are the ones that are benefiting from this illegal trade. They've got, the sons have got nice flashy cars, and maybe paying some of the bills at home. And again, at that age, they haven't got a full-time job. They haven't got a permanent job at all. And all of a sudden, the son's coming up with, £4,000-5,000 car, some flashy clothes and everything. And they are just turning a blind eye thinking, you know what? I don't need to know where he's coming from, as long as there's food on the table, as long as my life's a bit easier. I don't have to pay as much bills as, I would if he wasn't working. So there's that complicitness as well. And I think it's those parents that I've got no sympathy for. Because I've been in a situation where sometimes, you think this problem is too big for me. Unless I've got support from people like yourselves, I don't know how to deal with this. That's one thing. But the second bit is when, as a parent, I'm thinking, but that takes you all right. You earn, you bring into my household, I'm benefiting. Is those parents I've got no sympathy with, and they'll be answerable here, but also as Muslims we believe in the life after as well. They'll be answerable in the hereafter.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're right. That isn't in terms of no kind of key answer where we can turn around and say, right, to the parent, you know what, you need to shop your son in. If the son's become the breadwinner in the family and he's actually earning more money than the father, right? A lot of the time we're seeing through evidence is the family just keeps it quiet because they just think, but when it flips on its head and the house gets raided and the person gets caught, what do the families do? They come out and say, we didn't know nothing about it. We're victims of police harassment. Right? Where does this...
Or they're racist.
That's what's really bad for the rest of the community.
No, most definitely as well. So again, there's no easy answers, but, it is tough as a parent for you to scold your child or to even grasp to the authorities about that. But someone's got to take a step somewhere, because too many young lives are being destroyed by drugs. And, if it was, God forbid, if it was my son that's addicted to something, the person that I will be blaming is the dealer. Obviously my son's involved as well. He's made his wrong choices, but it's those people that are peddling, knowing that this is going to put a young person on the wrong path and potentially, cost them their life. They're prepared to take that risk just to make a bit of money for themselves.
Well, the bigger picture of this is actually we see, as a result of drugs in our communities, young people not prospering and actually getting really good futures. We're holding our community back. We want a lot of these youngsters to not grow up and become drug addicts. We want them to grow up to become doctors, solicitors.
That's right.
And that's how our communities are going to thrive. That's how the next generation is actually going to, basically make these areas better. If we pump more drugs and sell more drugs, we're actually creating a right for our own. And we're basically making these areas like Sparkbrook, Spark Hill, pretty much like what people call the scum areas.
And no-go areas as well.
No-go areas. And they don't show any respect or love to them. They don't get cleaned as often as you would see in Solihull. You won't see in terms of beautiful flowers and things, because people want to
That's right.
just
That's right.
throw dirty needles and so on.
This is all connected, isn't it?
It's all connected.
It's all connected.
It's absolutely all connected, and there's a lot of high crime here. Then,
Yeah,
so then obviously insurances go up on vehicles.
Yeah.
So it does affect you.
Yeah.
It affects everybody.
And I want to sort of move the conversations just slightly about in terms of the role of the community. You know what? As a community, as people living in the same street, as neighbours, we know full well who is doing, illegal activities, who is dealing, who is consuming. But very, very few people will have that courage and that boldness to inform the police of what's going on. And, we can't put everything onto the police unless they have the intelligence, unless they have the information, the evidence. They can't continually raid, they can't charge anyone. So it's up to us. If you know of any information, you can do it anonymously. Phone 101 and let the authorities know. But far too often, Brother Ash, people say, oh, I don't want to be a snitch. I don't want to be a grass. Oh, I don't, because as a community, we know everyone.
Yeah.
And, whether I know you or not, but I know someone that knows you and vice versa.
Yeah.
So we're all connected and we're thinking, you know what? I wish someone would grasp, but not me. But, someone has to take that step, haven't they?
What I would say to that is, look, if you could, as a community, work together, and you don't have to use the police, you don't have to snitch. You can actually work together and help that person and explain to that person, look, you need to stop this because it's affecting all of us. And then if they tend to keep ignoring you, then you have obviously been put in a position as a community with no choice.
That's right.
But 9 times out of 10, the police know majority of who the dealers are, etc. But what I'm trying to kind of raise awareness today on this is to actually get people help and support, raise awareness of the issue, what's going on, and actually for communities to tackle back and take your communities back and try to get some of these dealers to stop dealing, basically, because they're just making things worse.
Well, we're not saying vigilantism or anything. Don't take the matter into your own hands. But, there's, 4 or 5 of you can go and just generally say, look, we live here, we've got families here, my parents, my sisters, my daughters, we don't want this to go down an area where, it becomes openly dealing in the daytime, where, a lot of bad characters start coming and start taking ownership of the streets. Or, as Brother I said, the whole street starts, going in a deterioration way, and all of a sudden, before it's too late. You can have a word, and if someone listens, then all good. But at the same time, 4 or 5 of you can sort of have that regularly. Go to the parents, make it known, make them a prior, openly tell everyone what he's doing. Tell the police as well. Police are amongst us and we are the police. Police is done by consent. They are not, it's not them and us. So I think we have to realize that it's the drug dealers that are the ones that are causing, and we need to get them arrested and take them off our streets ASAP.
If your house gets burgled, you phone the police, don't you?
Yeah, that's right.
And what we see a lot of the time, who are the burglars?
That's
the
right.
drug addicts.
That's right.
And who's actually sold them the drugs? The drug dealers. So it's one circle.
Yeah.
It's actually one circle. So you're not, by phoning the police because someone burgled your house, are you a snitch?
Yeah.
No, you're not, are you?
I have a little story, and it really hit me at that time. This is going back about 12 years ago. We were at a wedding, and I was speaking to. We were all sort of school friends. It was one of our school friends' a wedding, and one of our sort of schoolmates had become off an alim. So there's about 8, 9 of us talking, and all of a sudden, one of our friends who's become a drug dealer and is quite successful and he's quite rich now through these illegal means. He sort of entered the whole, that 7-8 group completely just left that of us and me to one side, went to greet him. And I was really embarrassed. And I thought, you know what? At that time, our was talking about, he went to Syria to learn his trade and become a real scholar. I just thought, the value that we put on a scholar, someone who's really spent, a lot of time becoming our person and a scholar, to someone who's obviously, earned a bit of money, but through illegally, where the respect was. And I thought, we've lost our values. We lost, our real essence of what's important. Absolutely. And that, it hurt me because, like I said, I just looked at the Imam's face and, and he was like, And I just thought this is a situation that we find ourselves in. Really sad. So, walaikum salam, walaikum salam. I'm just going to read a few comments. Sorry, guys, just being busy in our own conversations. Substance abuse is causing marriage breakdowns in our community. Families are broken up and cause devastation, harming innocent young kids who are caught in the middle. Well said, Javed. Our local masjids have a role to play in terms of guiding our youngsters on the straight and narrow path and and avoiding, because it is sometimes it does take, we sometimes ignore the role religion plays about getting people onto the straight and narrow. Obviously we know it's very peaceful, and let's forget about going into paradise, all that. Just in itself, I've started to start praying now, just to scorn the contentment that you get. It's unbelievable. Before I was busy with work, and now that I'm even making just 5 minutes to pray, I feel a lot more stress free, a lot more relaxed. Going back to my work again.
Mosques are part of the community network, right? That's what they are. They're actually there to bring the community together. They've got a massive part to play. Yeah. Just by if we can occasionally do khutbah on a Friday, right, and bring this topic up, it will make such a difference. Yeah. Even if we can get some of the mosques and some of the leaders and some of the top imams we got in our community to talk about this issue and talk about it in a very passionate and strong way, it will make a massive difference.
We have got imams. I'm going to mention Sheikh Ijaz, Sheikh Aslam, Sheikh Saqib Saab, Sheikh Israr, Aslam, quite a few now young Maulvis, but I still think that we need more. Yeah. We need more young scholars who are not just, in the four walls of the masjid. They know what's happening on the streets as well, so they can relate. So if the young person's there, they're not talking from a textbook. No. They're talking the street language. They're talking the sort of real difficulties that the young people find themselves in, and so that when they are talking, they can relate to it, and they're thinking, Sheikh so and so is talking. He understands what I'm going through. Let me open up to him. Yeah. Rather than someone who's in their 60s or 70s doing it in Mirpuri language or in Urdu, and he's doing it just to sort of tick a box because he's been asked to. So I think there's a world of difference. So I think we got to do it for the real reasons as well. So I hope that's okay. So that was a great point. The other one, said, Ali, your football coaching jabs is a great initiative to occupy youngsters and keep them off the wrong path. You deserve a lot of applause for this. Thank you, Jab. I really appreciate that. And I know, Anwar, if you're still listening or not, this is again, a nice vehicle to keep young kids busy. We mentioned about, boredom, stress. I know we aren't able to, because of lockdown, sort of continue with our regular coaching sessions, but, that's one way. Football academies, sports clubs, any type of sports, whether it's boxing or whatever, use these, get your kids in there, boys and girls as well. And that's one way of trying to nurture and safeguard and protect your kids as well. I'm going to use this opportunity now to invite Ash to do a little talk to my kids once lockdown has finished, because we've got workshops once a month on different issues. And I'm going to bring you, because this is the sort of topic we need to address. Yes. Because they're at that age, they're about 15, 16, 17, 18, that they're probably experimenting, they're thinking about it. And they're sort of obviously seeing everything on social media, and body image is a big thing as well. Trying to look cool is a big thing, and this is where we need to capture them and get them as well. So, walaikum salam, Nasser, walaikum salam, Mujahid Saab. I hope you're enjoying this show. It's all about substance abuse. We're talking about alcohol, which is a big issue for our community. Drugs such as cannabis, heroin and cocaine, but also prescriptive medicine as well. A lot of people get addicted to, the antidepressant Prozac, some other medicines as a way of sort of getting a high or just having a bit of escapism as well. So I'm just going to read Mujahid's text out. Like your guest said, the police know they only do some things when they get orders from the top. And when the hard drugs coming in, police have informers out there. But Mujahid, I'm going to sort of add on to that. Police are there doing their job, but as a community, it's our area, it's our kids as well. We have a role and a responsibility to, take back the streets as well. So that's what I would say. The police will do their bit. but it's, our community, it's us guys that are suffering at the cold end as well. So we've got about 3-4 minutes left before the end of the show. So I'm just going to now sort of start winding the conversation up. So keep on coming up with your comments. So Brother Ash, I want to sort of now, as always, end up on a positive, really. So we talked about young kids, we talked about families finding themselves in a predicament. I want to know what sort of support is there, really. So if a person who wants to reach out for help and he's an alcoholic or he's dependent on drugs, where can he go, what can he do, and vice versa. If he's a family member, mother, parent, grandparent, what support is available, please?
First of all, our number is 0121 448 3883.
448
3883. Please phone the office. The phone lines are open from 10 till 4:30 every day. So that's for the phone line open access phone services. Visit our website, which is on www.kikitproject.org.
Yeah.
KIKIT spelled KIKIT project.org. And all our programs and when they're running, when the webinars are running, are available. We've got, our team are all qualified substance misuse practitioners.
Yeah.
So they're all highly trained counsellors. They come from the community, speak Urdu, Mirpuri, Punjabi.
Good.
So we got a multilingual team. And there is help, absolutely. We've helped thousands of families and young children to come out of dependency. And like I said earlier in your show, it's about how much you want it. If the person who's got the addiction wants the help there, and we know the programs we deliver work, we know because other people have come off them.
That's right.
And our statistics are really, really good in terms of the rates of how many people have got clean that have done the program. So please access. At the moment, it's a difficult time with COVID. We know it's very difficult to do group sessions or face-to-face sessions because of COVID. And this is why I came on the show as well. One of the reasons to say the phone lines are still open. You can still talk to someone. You can still contact us through WhatsApp and through the website. So help hasn't stopped. Even during this difficult time, it's there. So that's the easiest way to get through.
So that's for the service user, people who are addicted to drugs. But what about as a parent? So I'm a concerned parent now. My son or daughter now is being groomed or is hooked onto say cocaine. What can I do as a parent?
I would ask you to phone us. Even moms, like I said, we've got female workers who speak Urdu in different languages. So we get a lot of moms and wives phoning as well. Because there's, as a result of drug dependency, there's domestic violence happens because of that, like one of your viewers said. So there's services that we're linked to as well, domestic violence services, housing. If someone's homeless, we try and get them housed as well. So phone the office. It's very easy to just pick up the phone and phone us. Any parent that needs help or wants to speak to somebody to look at a way to encourage their family member or avoid someone in their family to get onto drugs, we're here to help you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Ash, for your time today. Just going to finish off by a last shout out to you for taking time out today to discuss an issue that affects the community. We salute him. That's one of the messages from the viewers and listeners. So really big shout out for all the work that he's doing, because these are vulnerable, ignored sections of the community, and Brother Ash and his KIKIT program are there at the heart of the community on Stratford Road, providing service in different languages, and in different settings as well. So you've got male and female support workers and counsellors offering all sorts of support. So please, do take him up on his offer. The number once again is 0121 448 3883. The website is www.kikitproject.org UK. I hope you found the program useful. I wanted to get this in early in lockdown as well, because I know the amount of pressure and the amount of difficulty this is having on individuals and also family as well. And it is important that we get through this together. If you do find yourself, because of that, you're bored, you're stressed because of the economic situation, that you are thinking about, increasing your drugs dependency, or maybe embarking on this, please, you are far too precious for us to lose you in any kind of way. We are losing far too many lives anyway at the moment through COVID. We don't want to, lose any more unnecessary lives as well. You provide support in other languages. Yes, Mirpuri, Urdu, and English, of course. Any other languages, Somalian or?
Yeah, we have Arabic.
Arabic. So yeah, please, contact them on different languages as well. They will provide you with that. So that was my show for another week. Please, we've already mentioned that the COVID figures are increasing at a vast extortionate rate, 200%. This is just simply not acceptable and not tolerable. So please wear a face mask. That is now mandatory for us when we enter a supermarket as well. The Birmingham City Council are now giving free masks to those food banks, so you can get them from there as well. It is not easy with school children being at home as well. We have to sort of support and motivate each other. And before you know it, hopefully we will see the light at the end of the tunnel. 2.5 million people have already taken the vaccine. If you have got your letter, you are in the high risk group. Please do not miss your appointment. Do not cancel your appointment. Do not listen to any conspiracy theories. We have a duty to protect ourselves, all of us. So if you're protected, I'm protected. If I'm protected, Brother Ash is protected, and vice versa as well. Next week, I have Brother Shafaq here, who's going to be talking about the Kashmiri census, which is going to be going live in March. And it's important that as a ethnicity, as a Kashmiri group, we get ourselves recognized, so we get our just support and investment for particularly to our community. Until next week, please look after yourselves and each other. God bless. Thank you. Wa alaikum salam.